Simply put, locomotor skills are all the different ways that a body can travel. And apart from walking, running is the most common locomotor skill. Generally speaking, running is described as traveling fast on one's feet, with one foot always being off the ground. Not necessarily a sprint, where you'd be traveling at top speed, because with a sprint, the mechanics would change slightly. Again, we have Maddie, our developed learner, on the left, and Mike, our developing learner, on the right. When we look at a runner, we should look at both what their arms are doing as well as the legs. There are lots of things that we can see that Maddie is doing well and that Mike is doing not so well when we compare their technique. So, starting with the legs, we can see that Maddie is pushing hard with longer strides and driving her knees up. She isn't sprinting, so she's contacting the ground with her heel first, instead of the balls of her feet. On the other hand, Mike is not driving his knees up, and so his strides are shortened, which makes it much harder to gain speed. Looking at the arms now, we can see that Maddie is bending her arms at 90-degree angles. Or close to it, and keeps her elbows in towards her body, which helps move her upper arms forward and backward so that there is no wasted movements out to the side, which could potentially slow her down. Looking at Mike, on the other hand, well, what can we say about this? As he is running, his arms kind of get far out from his body and make kind of a circular motion. So we can see that they're in kind of wide circular motions here, sticking out from his body, and his elbows aren't bent in any kind of significant way. So if we move Mike up, we can see the major difference here in between Maddie's fully bent arms and Mike's straight arms, as well as Maddie's strides versus Mike's strides. Maddie is lifting her knees much higher than Mike does, and so that's indicating that she's really trying to push off and drive her knees up to get more power, whereas Mike's strides are kind of erratic and shortened for much shorter than what they probably should be. To help Mike improve his technique, there are many things we can do, like reminding him to keep his knees high. We could use visual prompts by simply demonstrating how to take longer, very exaggerated strides so that he achieves a longer flight period where neither of his feet are in the air. You could do this by setting out hula hoops for him to step in, or having small hurdles that he can step over so that his knees have to get up. We can see that Mike's heels aren't coming up high enough off the ground to get a good stride either. And an activity that we could do that would maybe help him with this is to take short runs where he just raises his heels in an exaggerated fashion to try to kick his backside as he's running. We can also see that Mike is leaning way too far forward here when you compare his lean with Maddie's lean. During the run, Maddie keeps her upper body more or less straight, whereas Mike is leaning very far forward. To help Mike improve with his posture, we could get him to run, in short distances with his with high knees, just to exaggerate that he keeps his back straight and gets his knees as high as he can. As for his arms, this might take a little more work. But to start with, we need to remind him to keep his elbows bent and to bring his hands down to his pockets. That usually works as a good cue. If you just tell the kids to just brush the hips with their hands or kind of reach for their own pocket and keep those elbows in. It's also important to make sure that when he does correct where his elbows are, that his hands don't cross the midline of his body. So if we draw a section down the midline of his body here, we don't want his arms to swing across his body like this. We just want them to stay straight, pumping up and down. But that might be another issue we come to once we correct other things. So we can see both runs fully compared now with the two different techniques. Thank you.